Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 12 of Italeri Operation Silver Bayonet, scale 172. In this part, I'm going to be concentrating on the second house. That's the village house, the instructions are calling it. It's going to be made up basically the same way as the first one. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. As I said, the construction is very similar to the first one. The base is different. Also, the whole building is a different shape, but the rudimentals of the constructions are the same. The bases are completely different. So here I'm making this cross section for the base. Now the instructions are not brilliant on this part. I had to study it for quite some time to figure out how everything went. So it's worth, again, I'll say it's worth studying these instructions and dry fitting before you carry on. The central part, the crossbeam section that I just placed together, that should be done first. Don't be tempted to do some of the larger pieces first. Put the crossbeam section on first, and then you can work around that area. And because I done the last one and I was putting too much pressure on, I ended up snapping a couple of beams. I'm being very careful with this one that I don't do the same again. So I'm gingerly placing these in this time. So I'm working around on the outside. Each one does link into it, but each one links into a slightly different way. So again, with the dry fitting, I think I dry fitted this about 3 or 4 times before I was comfortable to commit to the actual build itself. One of the problems, it's not a problem, it may cause confusion, is where my hand's resting on the base plate. There's 4 little location points. This is actually for the steps that go into it, but as I said, the instructions are not exactly clear on it. So if you've never built anything like this before, it could be a little bit confusing. And the last piece is going in now. This piece has a retaining post right then that doesn't actually connect to anything at this stage. So be careful when you're placing this in, because it can quite easily snap off again if you put on too much pressure. But it really is quite an easy build. It's just a shame the instructions weren't 100% clear. Next are the steps, and these were a lot easier to build than the first set of steps. The reason for it is there was no base plate, so it was easier to link in each individual step as you go along. So as you can see there, I'm putting in the bottom rung, then I'm putting the side support in on the opposite end. Now, if you want, you can actually build this without any glue. It's not really necessary. It's a nice tight fit, not as tight that you can't get each individual part secure, but for peace of mind, I think it's better just to use a little bit of glue. And it's a simple case of following each step until you reach the top. And then I'll put it aside to dry, but I won't connect it until the main building is constructed. So it's onto the main building as well now. So as you can see that I've got the individual gable ends all ready to go in, and it's practically the same way to build. Well, it's not practically, it is the building process as the other house. So a little bit of wood glue in the joints and just marry the sides up. And once all the main walls were up, it's time to put in the outer panels, and they just get pushed on and they fit snugly on each panel. It's a good idea to rub away any excess glue at this stage as well. You don't want it drying and then it'll have a big clump. So it didn't show on the other part, but yeah, especially if it's wood glue, it's a little bit thicker than PVA glue. So the drying time's a little bit longer, but it can actually leave marks on the surface if you don't wipe away any excess. And then the last thing to go on this part from the veranda is the handrail area in the open part. And again, it's the same construction with these buildings. And the roof is identical to the first build as well, construction-wise. Before I put the main roof on, this veranda roof has to go on first. It sort of tucks underneath the roof a little bit, so it's a wise idea to put it on now. And then I can just pop on the roof, and like the first roof, this fitted perfectly. It just slots into place. I did have to hold the stone slightly longer for it to push up against the roof of the veranda, but apart from that, everything was fine. So it's time for weathering. I'm using Light Colour LPW18 Wood Deck Darkener, and that was over the top of the Humbrol 110 natural wood that I pre-painted. The weathering at this stage is a very simple process, and just making these scuff marks before blending in the wash. And to blend it in, I'm just using water to dilute it even further as I go along. So it's, again, it's a similar process when you're weathering vehicles and things like that, if you're using washers to do so. Now, this is only the first stage of the weathering. I will be weathering these more, but that'll be later on down the line when it's in situ. Then I can see how heavy I want the weathering to be. I'm using my pencil to mark out the roof tiles or shingles. Now, I know you can use a wash for this, but a lot of washes will give a sort of glossy effect if they're made from ink, for instance. So the graphite in the pencils are ideal for this. And you can see the other one, which I've already completed with the pencil, how it all stands out. Now, with the graphite, it will run as well if you put any liquid on there, like another wash or water or whatever. Don't worry about that, because that's going to all add to the weathering effect of the whole area. If you do this and you think your lines are too sharp, simply get an eraser and gently go over the area that you used the pencil, and that'll smudge the graphite to give it a more softer feel. And then I'm going over it once more with the light colour W18 with a very moist brush this time, and just putting these streak effects in. So you can see it on the one side of it starting to come through. I'm now changing over to Light Colour LPW19 Wooden Deck Shadow. This is the lighter version, and applying it on various panels throughout the build. And this again just gives a contrast in different tones of the wood. And I'll just carry on with the same process all over the two buildings over and over again until I'm happy with the look. So overall, I think it's a decently weathered. It can do with a bit more, as it all depends how it's going to look in the setting. I may add some more, not me, I will add some more weathering once it's all in place. Then it's back to the base and placing in the steps that I previously built. The fitting here was very tight. The ruts didn't quite match up. Maybe I got them too close together. I'm not sure, but I had to sort of widen it a little bit for the stairs to fit in. There was a little bit of poking and prodding just to line everything up. But the good thing about it is, because I'm using wood glue, it allows me plenty of time to do this. I don't have to worry about an instant bond if I was using a super glue, for instance. So if you are doing something like this, try and stick to the wood glues and things like that, because if you do have to maneuver things a lot into position and poke and prod, at least you're going to have the time to do it. Yes, it takes longer to dry, but it is actually more beneficial. So once I've got the steps in, it's time to treat the base how it's going to be once it's in the diorama setting. Now obviously it's a bit of bare wood here, and when it goes in, that would just look strange in whatever setting you're going to place it in. So what I'm doing here is I've got some PVA glue, and I'm covering the entire bottom with a coating of PVA. And next I've got some woodland scene wood chippings here. You can pick this up from any hobbycraft shop or model outlet. or online, of course, and I just sprinkle it all over. So while I'm doing this, this is where I'll end part 12. This will need time to dry before I move on anyway. So all I'm doing is sprinkling it on, then I'll tip off the excess and then leave it to dry. So while I'm doing that, why don't you go and check out the channel for my other builds, and maybe something that will hold your interest. If not, give me a shout and I'll see if there's something I can build that you would like to see. Subscribe to the channel, that being the case, and also hit that notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.